Thank you for your questions. We turned off the chat for now, and let's continue with our lesson. Practical application of the image fish. And now we're moving on to the most interesting, the most exciting, the meat, so to speak. But of course, in this case, to fish. Oh well. So, we'll begin to learn about the so-called sexual factor. In other words, sexual preferences of people with the image fish in their individual natural programs, which is the main part of structure of psyche, as you already know. So today we're talking about sex. But before we begin, I think we should quickly summarize what we discussed in the previous part of this lesson. So I'll do that very briefly. First of all, today we talked about that in this hieroglyph or image that we're studying, it is simply stated fish. There is no indication as to what kind of fish it is. Is it a shark, a small guppy, a clownfish? And this means that this image includes all types of fish that exist in nature. And currently there are over 30,000 fish species known. Also, as we know from biology, all fish are cold-blooded inhabitants of bodies of water. They live only in water, fresh or salt water. And they're covered by mucus or slime. They can be large, they can be small, but they can exist in any amount of water, from a puddle to an ocean. Fish sleep around lunchtime. In mornings and evenings, they function actively. In general, they do not form pairs, but form schools, like schools of fish. All their sensory organs are in the body. They have great, tremendous physical strength. As for food, although they do have teeth, of course, they do not chew their food. Instead, they tear it apart. Or if we transfer this onto a human, cut it up. So, lifestyle of fish is swimming, eating, and of course, reproducing. For entertainment, they splash, but again, they do that only in mornings and evenings. Well, that's probably enough of that. You can learn more about fish on your own, as well as during our next lessons. Right now, the question is, how is this image realized in human programs in the sexual factor? What algorithms of sexual life and behavior does it give to a person? What preferences and so on? In other words, exactly what type of people's sexual behavior is behind this image? I'll give you a brief overview in this lesson today. And of course, as always, to illustrate this, I will provide a few examples of sexual behavior and preferences of people who have the image of a fish in their individual programs. So, essentially, these people don't care who to have sex with. The most important thing for them is to have it, and to have it from dawn to dusk. You'd say they're promiscuous, have disorderly, unlimited sexual relations with many partners? Well, with this, you won't be able to scare a person with the image of a fish. What is so bad in being promiscuous? These people simply don't understand. This is simply how they live. For them, promiscuity is quite normal. It's natural. Well, unless, of course, some person has an image, say, of an oak, for instance, among images of his or her program. And an oak gives a person a need to have a family, and really doesn't combine well with promiscuity. Or, maybe an image of a bird or some monogamous animal. But anyway, don't be surprised that before, after, and maybe even during sex, a partner with the image of a fish will run to the bathroom. Well, naturally to wash up, especially since people fish are extremely neat and clean. And of course, it's only natural to shower and, even necessary in terms of basic hygiene. But for people fish, going to the bathroom can be just an excuse to be in water and to be surrounded by water. By the way, sex and water, the ocean, a pool, a jacuzzi, that is a super dream for a person with the image of a fish. Why? Well, because in nature for any fish, water is the most important and necessary source of life. Sure, in extreme cases, you can use a water mattress, that will do. But anyway, if there is no jacuzzi, a person with the image of a fish will surround the love bed with a huge number of bottles, cups, glasses, all sorts of containers with all kinds of liquids. Of course, including alcoholic ones, since these people are extremely prone to alcoholism. But what to do? Anyway, a person with an image of a fish can sip from these containers even during sex. And they really won't care that partner or partners seem to be asking, did you come here to drink or to make love? He or she simply couldn't care less about such stupid questions. Just like fish in nature, people with the image of a fish, they like to rub sides. Since, as I already mentioned, the main sensual organ is the body. So, dear partners of fish, remember, foreplay is mandatory for them. If you ever heard of saying sperm intoxication, you know that it jokingly means when a man who has not had sexual satisfaction in a long time has his sperm accumulated and it influences his brain, his general state. And the same term can also be used in relation to a woman in the same sense. Accumulated sexual dissatisfaction. In men, this usually manifests in uncontrollable erections when they're ready to jump on anything that moves, literally. Well, foreplay for people with the image of a fish is absolutely required. And in cases of what is called sperm intoxication, these boys and girls can finish without even starting. For example, it can be that after a sexual absentees, a man fish will hug so much, though in fish language it's more like rub. For example, by putting his member between the breasts of his partner. And then he won't even notice that he came to the finish line in this process without getting to the main part. Direct contact of the genitals. Rubbing has a similar effect on women fish, of course. Also, people with the image of a fish can be very intrusive and pester people of the opposite sex. Even sucker fish, if you know that fish, could envy their persistence. By the way, during foreplay, people with the image of a fish prefer their bodies to be slippery. For this purpose, they use a variety of creams, oils, all kinds of lotions, and so on. Slipping and sliding with a partner, that is extremely pleasant to people with the image of a fish. As you can see from our specially selected pictures and videos, in nature, in the process of mating, a female shark can be held down by 2 or more, even more partners. So this means that as far as group sex goes, people with the image of a fish, they not only understand and accept this idea, but they also like it very much. So in their case, it is not necessary to have just one sexual partner. As the saying goes, the more the better. What else? Well, for example, during sex, people with the image of a fish usually don't yell and scream like some people, but remain silent. Silent like fish. But this does not at all mean that they're inactive. For example, during sex, people with the image of a fish, they can act like a spindle, just like fish that you see in our video in front of you. This means that during sex, these people, they can twist and turn, and so their partners should be very careful and cautious because movements of people fish are quite sharp during sex. Let's see. For example, a man fish can easily bruise his partner, and the woman fish can pinch her partner's balls accidentally, or make a sudden turn and hurt the partner, just by sticking out some hard or sharp part of the body. Yeah, this can and does happen. Also, in nature, for some female fish, sex can be deadly. And actually, the same is true for males. For example, many sea creatures, they hold females with their teeth. For most types of sharks, for example, the male, he throws himself onto the female and holds her down by the fins with his teeth. You can also see this actually for yourself in the video that you have in front of you. By the way, I recently read that the biologists, they even claim that they can count the number of sexual acts that the female shark had by scars on its body. Quite interesting. Also, according to research, sometimes sharks can suffocate during sexual intercourse. This also has to do with currents and so on. Or, for example, salmon, they often die right after they spawn. They swim a very long time to breeding sites, and the competition for females, all that takes a lot of their energy. And after males fertilize eggs ejected by females, almost all of the adults die. Yeah. Death of males after they give their seed is actually quite a common phenomenon for some species of fish. For instance, what is it called? A male anglerfish can bite into the female with its teeth, and then it literally merges with the female and can no longer detach. At that point, the male basically loses independence, and going forward, he performs only one function of an inseminator. So if we transfer this onto people, then as for fish in human form, well, these boys and girls, they can lose consciousness during sex, so to speak, due to an abundance of feelings. In people with the image of a fish, this state is caused by many strong orgasmic sensations. And such stress can easily make them faint. Oh yeah. So, my dears, watch out so you don't get your balls hurt. And don't be scared if your partner fish faints. You're now armed with a forewarning. Oh, and by the way, if you decide to have sex with a partner who has fish as one of the images of his or her program, then be prepared that you will be having sex with a condom. And it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. And of course, if you yourself are a human fish, so to speak, then don't forget to stop by a pharmacy before sex and just buy these things yourself. Because, it may be that your sexual partner does not have the image of a fish in the program. And then don't expect to find your favorite contraceptive in his or her pockets. Well, very briefly, this is what people with the image of a fish are like in the sexual factor. There are actually many such people because this image is found in natural human programs described in Shan Hai Jing quite often. And so it's very possible that once you learn more about this image, become intimately familiar with it, you can easily recognize behavior of some of your lovers, perhaps. Feel free to share in this group or leave a comment to the video. By the way, we will definitely make a video from this lesson and post it on YouTube. So don't be shy. And now we will open up the chat, and we have about 15 minutes left. So please go ahead and ask your questions.